Have you ever wondered about the story behind Bitcoin? How did a purely digital currency, created by a mysterious figure, grow into a global phenomenon that's changing the world of finance? Today, we're diving deep into the incredible history of Bitcoin. It all starts in 2008. The world was in the grip of a massive financial crisis. Trust in traditional banks and financial institutions was at an all-time low. People were losing their homes, their savings, their jobs. It was in this climate of distrust and uncertainty that a mysterious person, or maybe a group of people, using the name Satoshi Nakamoto, published a 9-page paper. The title, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. This paper was revolutionary. It laid out the blueprint for a new kind of money, one that was controlled by any government or bank. It would be decentralized, meaning it would be run by a network of users all over the world. Transactions would be recorded on a public ledger called the blockchain, making them transparent and secure. And it would be created through a process called mining, where powerful computers solve complex math problems to validate transactions and earn new Bitcoin as a reward. On January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto mined the very first block of the Bitcoin blockchain, known as the Genesis block. Embedded within this block was a hidden message. A headline from that day-ass newspaper. The Times 03 Gen 2009. Chancellor, on brink of second bailout for banks. This wasn't just a timestamp. It was a powerful statement. It was a critique of the fragile, centralized banking system and a declaration of intent for this new, decentralized alternative. In the early days, Bitcoin was a niche interest for a small community of cryptographers and tech enthusiasts. They were fascinated by the elegance of the code and the radical idea it represented. The value of one Bitcoin was practically zero. Early adopters would trade thousands of them just for fun or to test the network. Then came a legendary moment in Bitcoin history. On May 22, 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz made the first ever real-world commercial transaction using Bitcoin. He offered 10,000 Bitcoin to anyone who would order him to pizzas. Someone took him up on the offer. And 2 Papa John's pizzas were delivered to his door. At the time, those 10,000 Bitcoins were worth about $41. Today, that would be hundreds of millions of dollars. That's why the crypto community still celebrates May 22nd as Bitcoin Pizza Day, a reminder of how far it has come. As the years went by, Bitcoin slowly started to gain more attention. In 2011, its price reached parity with the US dollar. For the first time, 1 Bitcoin was worth $1. It was a huge milestone. But this early growth also attracted the wrong kind of attention. The infamous online marketplace, the Silk Road, adopted Bitcoin as its currency of choice because of its perceived anonymity. This association gave Bitcoin a negative reputation in its early years, linking it to illicit activities in the public eye. Then, in late 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto, the enigmatic creator, began to withdraw from the project. After handing over the reins to a group of trusted developers, including Gavin Andresen, Satoshi sent a final email in April 2011 saying they had moved on to other things. And just like that, they vanished. To this day, Satoshi Nakamoto's true identity remains one of the biggest mysteries of the 21st century. Was it one person? A team of experts? We may never know. But their disappearance was perhaps the greatest gift to Bitcoin, ensuring it would remain truly decentralized with no single leader or point of failure. The years 2012 and 2013 were a roller coaster. The first halving event happened in November 2012. This is a pre-programmed event in Bitcoin. S-code that cuts the reward for mining new blocks in half, happening roughly every 4 years. This mechanism is designed to control the supply of new Bitcoin, making it a scarce, deflationary asset, much like digital gold. Following the halving, Bitcoin's price began to surge, climbing from around $13 to over $1,000 by the end of 2013. This was the first major bull run, and it brought a wave of new investors and media attention. But what goes up must come down. The spectacular rise was followed by a dramatic crash. The prominent Bitcoin exchange, Mt. Gox, which handled over 70% of all Bitcoin transactions at the time, suddenly collapsed in early 2014 after a massive hack. Hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins were lost, and the price plummeted by over 80%. Many declared Bitcoin dead. It was a brutal lesson for investors about the risks of a new and unregulated market. For the next couple of years, Bitcoin entered a crypto winter. Prices were low, media interest faded, and the public was skeptical. But behind the scenes, the community of developers and believers didn't give up. They kept working, improving the code, building better infrastructure, and strengthening the network's security. They were laying the groundwork for the future. And that future arrived in 2017. The second halving occurred in July 2016, and just as before, it preceded a massive bull market. But this time was different. Bitcoin wasn't just a niche interest anymore. It exploded into the mainstream consciousness. Fueled by media hype, fear of missing out, and the rise of thousands of new cryptocurrencies in what was called the ICO boom, Bitcoin's price skyrocketed. It started the year under $1,000, and by December, of course, this bubble also burst. 2018 brought another painful crash and another long crypto winter. Once again, critics were quick to write Bitcoin's obituary. But once again, they were wrong. Each of these cycles, the boom and the bust, made the network stronger. It flushed out the short-term speculators and left behind the long-term builders and believers. Major financial institutions, which had once dismissed Bitcoin, started to take notice. Companies like Fidelity began exploring crypto services. The narrative was shifting from a niche currency for tech geeks to a legitimate, investable asset class. Then came the 2020s, a period that cemented Bitcoin's place on the global stage. The third having took place in May 2020. This, combined with unprecedented money printing by central banks during the global pandemic, created a perfect storm. Investors, fearing inflation and seeking a safe haven for their wealth, flocked to Bitcoin. Major public companies like MicroStrategy and Tesla added Bitcoin to their corporate treasuries. Payment giants like PayPal and Square integrated Bitcoin into their platforms, making it accessible to millions. In 2021, Bitcoin smashed its previous all-time high, from a 9-page paper in 2008 to a globally recognized asset worth over $1 trillion. The history of Bitcoin is a story of innovation, resilience, and a radical vision for the future of money. It's been a wild ride of incredible highs and devastating lows. But through it all, the Bitcoin network has never been hacked, has never gone down, and has continued to operate exactly as its mysterious creator intended. What's next for Bitcoin? No one knows for sure, but its story is far from over. It continues to challenge our ideas about money, trust, and power. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of Bitcoin. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next deep dive. See you in the next video.